आज के पॉडकास्ट में वी हैव द लिविंग लेजेंड डॉक्टर नरेश त्रेहन दी फाउंडर एंड चेयरमैन ऑफ मेदांता। आज का पॉडकास्ट एक डीप डाइव है उनकी जर्नी के बारे में, कैसे वो डॉक्टर त्रेहन यूएस से इंडिया आए, आके उन्होंने एस्कॉर्ट्स हॉस्पिटल सेटअप किया, विच बिकेम वन ऑफ द एट दैट टाइम बिकेम वन ऑफ द लार्जेस्ट हार्ट इंस्टीट्यूट इन द वर्ल्ड। उसके बाद जाके उन्होंने कैसे उनका आइडिया आया कि एक सुपर स्पेशलिटी अलग-अलग बनाई जाए और मेदांता उन्होंने फाउंड किया। एंड टुडे मेदांता इज़ वन ऑफ द लार्जेस्ट प्राइवेट हॉस्पिटल्स इन द वर्ल्ड। आज के पॉडकास्ट पे हमने ये भी बात की कि कैसे इंडिया डायबिटीज़ एंड हार्ट डिसीज़ेज़ का कैपिटल बन चुका है। हेल्थ को इम्प्रूव करने के लिए क्या-क्या चीज़ें करनी है। एंड वी हैव कवर्ड ऑल द एस्पेक्ट्स दैट यू वुड रियली एन्जॉय। हम अच्छा और मीनिंगफुल कंटेंट बनाते रहेंगे। आपको जो सब्सक्राइब का बटन दिख रहा है, प्लीज़ इसको आप सब्सक्राइब कीजिए। हम बहुत मेहनत कर रहे हैं मीनिंगफुल कंटेंट आप तक लेके आने की, और ऐसे-ऐसे लोग लेके आ रहे हैं हम अपने पॉडकास्ट पे जो आपको इंस्पायर करे और आप उनकी जर्नी से सीख पाओ। डॉक्टर नरेश त्रेहन ऑन द जर्नी विद सिमरप्रीत सिंह। डॉक्टर नरेश त्रेहन, थैंक यू सो मच फॉर डूइंग दिस। मैं काफ़ी टाइम से फॉलो अप कर रहा था आपकी टीम से, एंड आई थिंक इट्स फॉर मी पर्सनली it's a pleasure, because my younger sister also was treated here a couple of years back, and I come from a family of doctors, by the way. So my family is from Faridkot, and my great grandfather was a doctor, and we have about 40 doctors in my first family. So जब भी कोई डॉक्टर की बात होती है ना हमारे उसमें, एंड आई एम बाय द वे माय ग्रैंडफादर वाज ए इंजीनियर, सो जब भी कोई डॉक्टर्स की बात होती है ना, तो आपका टॉपिक बचपन से हम सुन ही रहे। डॉक्टर नरेश त्रेहन आए थे, सुन रहे थे, वो ना आपका जो नाम है वो मेरे सबकॉन्शियस में जा चुका है। एंड व्हेन वी स्टार्टेड दिस पॉडकास्ट ऑलमोस्ट 2 years बैक, एंड वो मेरे हमेशा जहन में था कि आपको ज़रूर लेके आना पॉडकास्ट में। आपकी जर्नी बड़ी फैसिनेटिंग, सो थैंक यू डॉक्टर त्रेहन फॉर डूइंग दिस।
No, it's my pleasure. Oh.
Thank you. Dr. Trehan, very quickly to start off with, you were born pre-partition, just right, and आपके your family came down to Delhi, Connaught Place. Both your parents were doctors, right? Can you just spend some time very early? What was वो क्या कैसे था? Do you remember the partition times,
Well,
or how was it?
I was 1 year old when partition took place. So the first 2-3 years I'd have no memory. But there are some snippets here and there because what had happened was that my parents had to leave overnight because of the violence suddenly, because they were both doctors, highly intertwined with the society in Lalpur, where they were now. It's known as Faisalabad. And all the people, whether Hindus or Muslims, said कि डॉक्टर साहब आप तो नहीं जा सकते, आपको कोई हम we make sure कोई छुएगा भी नहीं, कुछ नहीं हुआ. But then suddenly all the rioting broke out, so I'm told that they had to leave, just pack up, not even pack up, just leave for their lives. So they arrived in Delhi without penniless and 14 members of the family. But anyway, the memory I have is my father, then after 1 or 2 years, he got an allotment of this flat in Connaught Place. And there were 3 rooms in there. My father used to practice in one room. My mother used to practice in the other room. And we used to live, 4 of us, my sister, myself, and my parents, we used to live in one room. So that memory I have very well. And then I also remember my father riding on a bicycle, my mother sitting on the carrier, and I'm sitting on the bar, which had that small seat in front. And I remember it distinctly because my foot got caught in the wheel. And so that memory still stays, that this is what the beginning was for my parents and for us. And then gradually they established themselves and things got better as time went by. So that's the beginning. So there are just snippets that do come up. And as I said, that incidents like this getting caught in the wheel of a bicycle, or seeing my father sweating in the summer, driving a bicycle and all that. And then, like I said, gradually, they rehabilitated themselves.
जैसे आपके सर फादर वाज अ ईएनटी स्पेशलिस्ट एंड योर मदर वाज अ गायनेकोलॉजिस्ट एट दैट टाइम सर बिकॉज पार्टीशन हुआ था राइट जो पहले 10-15 साल बहुत गरीबी भी थी बहुत से लोग जो पाकिस्तान छोड़ के इधर आए थे इंडिया में थे तो उस टाइम पे सर बिफोर यू एक्चुअली वेंट ऑन टू डू योर एमबीबीएस व्हाट वाज द रिलेशनशिप विद डॉक्टर्स बिकॉज मुझे याद है सर हमारी फैमिली में भी डॉक्टर्स को पूजा जाता था एक टाइम पे राइट तो वो डिड यू सी दैट विद योर फादर एज वेल
You know, there is, like you said rightfully, that people had no money, but they needed help. So I could see that my father used to not charge them fee if they were not able to afford. And there are incidents like if a cook came who was a chef somewhere and he didn't have money, my father wouldn't charge him. But then, so what's happened is that those people, in return, would bring whatever they could bring. Like I remember the chef would bring a special chicken he would make and then just bring it to my father as a gratitude rather than, and some shoemaker, he did an operation free on him and he made some shoes for us as kids. So, you know, this was like that interesting experience for us as children to grow up in that environment that money was not a major factor over there because so that I think still stays in me that that whole ethos of my father helping everybody who he could and whoever needed help they could find it. So that has stayed with me.
Okay.
And so I think that the early days had a deep impression on me, although my father always used to say don't become a doctor because of the fact that he thought that it's, and rightfully so, he said that I don't have time for the family, we are struggling all the time, I've been working day and night. So he didn't want that maybe same life for me. But in those days it was usual or the fashion was that whatever your parents told you to do, you would do. It's just the reverse. So the more they discouraged me, the more I determined I got about becoming a doctor. So the rest is history.
But they were inspirations. So like that's fair to say that they were inspiration because you saw
that's
them.
what I'm saying. Now you see people coming in because he was an ENT. People coming with severe earache or bad throats. Them, you know, in those days the dust was so much that the tonsils would get infected. So people used to get sick very often, and then to be able to come in crying and then leaving smiling was obviously an impression. That's what I'm saying. So it did have an influence on me.
But sir, MBBS के बाद when you finished your MBBS in Lucknow, I want to understand and spend some time that why USA happened. Like, how did USA happen? Like, you have this early life inspiration. You've seen your parents, you know, serve people, and in return, you saw, you know, what people did in return. You पेरेंट्स ने फादर ने बोला नहीं करना हमने कहा ये तो करना ही करना है ना एमबीबीएस हुई उसके बाद सर व्हाई डिड यू चूज टू गो टू यूएसए
You see what actually happened in our the medical college days. In the fourth year, we used to have a posting, you can say, where we used to be posted by the bedside of a patient who was very sick. Because in those days, there was no ICUs, there was nothing. So I remember that there was a lady on one of my nights on duty. There was a lady who had the mitral valve, which is inside the heart, got blocked. And because of that, the blood was backing up into her body and her stomach was swollen, what we call ascites. And the only treatment we had was we'd put a catheter in here because ascites is protein to give it back to her through a pump. And we used to sit for 4 hours just pumping, knowing very well that the patient is not going to survive. It's just what we can do because there was no surgery at that time. So
this
in other words,
which year, sir? Which year is this?
This was 67, 68.
67, 68, okay.
Right? So there was always this thinking that, look, we know that what this lady has. We know that she is not going to survive in what we are doing. We know there is treatment developing overseas for this problem. Only we can't do it. It was traumatic for me, I would say, that look, we are actually doing nothing, just making things look better, but it's not doing anything.
Patient to bach nahi raha na.
She's not going to survive. So that's why I immediately, or we used to read journals and stuff like that, and we would get the idea of what's going on in the world. And that led me to apply to go to the US. Specifically, I wanted to do heart surgery because that's the impression that was so deep in my mind that, look, if you can do it, you can save thousands and thousands of lives, because this was an event that was occurring regularly in King George's Medical College. And we were trying to do what we could, but we didn't know how to fix it. So that's how the thought came, and I took the exam. And then, fortunately...
Which year did you reach?
69.
69, New York, right?
End of 69, I went to...
Okay.
Yeah.
And मुझे सर the famous Frank Spencer story बताओ sir, please. So 69 you were in New York?
No, 69 I went to Philadelphia, Thomas Jefferson University.
Okay.
And over there I saw the effectiveness of heart surgery, the whole, you can say, the drama of heart surgery, where it was very primitive at that time. And it was nothing like how we do it today. There was a 4-foot platform. The operating table was on top of that. The patient was on top of that table. And the surgeons used to climb up to this platform to operate. And all we could see as first-year residents was in a mirror on the ceiling that the surgeons were working feverishly, because 50% of the people would live and 50% would not live. So when the operation was successful and the patient was alive, the whole hospital used to stand up and clap that it was a successful heart surgery. So this was like I said, a drama of heart surgery, which was very sort of impressive in the sense of what could be accomplished. Instead of 100%, you could save at least 50%. So then I actually found out who's the best teacher of heart surgery, and everybody said the same thing, Dr. Frank Spencer. He is at New York University, but no point asking, because he has got a 5-year waiting list and he doesn't speak to foreigners. That's what was said.
What does 5-year waiting list mean?
Waiting list means if you apply today, 5 years later, you may get into the program, residency
to work
program.
with the team, right? Unki jo team
Because it was a graduated program. So 32 surgeons would start, residents would start. Every year, 50% would be eliminated, and 2 would make it to the cardiac surgery program. So it used to be called the steep pyramid.
Okay.
So 32 of us. So fortunately, it hit me that he doesn't speak to foreigners. So I wrote to him that people are dying in India, why I came to America. It's a pity that I won't be able to train with him. And he said, no, there is 1 seat open still for the residency program. If you like to apply, you're most welcome. So
he applied back.
I applied, and there was a huge number of people there.
350, I think. 350, 300 people.
So then they started eliminating. But anyway, his secretary, I used to call every morning to find out where I was, because I was very keen, or you can say even obsessed with the fact that I must train with the best. If I've come all the way, I must train with the best. So fortunately, I made it. And a lot of it has to do with luck, because when they interviewed me, they asked me a question on which I knew more than the person who was interviewing me, and he said it to me. He said, it's my subject, but you know more about it than I do. So obviously he marked me high. Well, I'm saying it's lucky that he asked that question. He would have asked me other things which I've... So anyway, it's a combination of seizing the opportunity and luck that will take you to wherever you want to go.
But sir, I want to spend another 1 minute more. We were reading, our research team was telling that unko jo secretary ka naam tha Honey tha, right? And you would follow up continuously. And actually, sir, this is the whole purpose of this podcast. Today, where Dr. Naresh Trehan has reached, it is not overnight, right? It is years of hard work, persistence, and courage. And that story is also that, at that time also, US was also very hippie mode, right? So you had this long hair, mustaches, and when you met Frank Spencer, thoda sa 1 minute batao na sir story. It's a very funny story, sir. What was his reaction?
No, truly, because he was from Texas, southern Texas, and he was a very conservative gentleman and very, I must say, committed to medicine. So when I got interviewed by the director of the residency program, was Dr. Bill Stall, he asked me this question, and then he told me that, look, you know more about it than I do. You must meet Dr. Spencer. So he took me, and he made me wait in Dr. Spencer's office because I was going to meet him at 4 o'clock. This was 2 o'clock, and I hadn't had anything after breakfast in the morning because I drove from Philadelphia to appear for this interview. Anyway, so I was sitting there for 2 hours, and this secretary was doing her, he used to have bubble wraps, which were very thick at that time, and she used to be popping. It's like a stress buster. Finally, she could not figure out, because I never wore a tie. I used to wear jodhpuris. And yes, my hair was long, and I had a bucket handle moustache and sideburns and all that. She couldn't figure me out. So she says, after she plucks up enough courage and says, "Are you Maharaja?" Because she thought maybe that's because of the Jodhpuri and all that. So I said, no, I am a doorman. So she laughed. So then we started talking for the next hour and all. So I did become quite familiar with her and friendly. So I used to call her every morning before I went into the operating room to say what happened. Because I knew there were 300 applicants, there was one spot open, and it's going to be very competitive. So when I went to see Dr. Spencer from there, he got a little surprised because Dr. Stall had told him that this is what happened, and I want you to meet Dr. Trehan. So he looked me up and down, and I mean, he had an amused look on his face. Where did this person come from? So anyway, credit to him that in spite of me looking like a hippie, he didn't flinch. He didn't think that I was not good enough to join the program. So anyway, I got in, and then the rest is history because we used to work. We used to be on call every other night.
Yeah.
So that means you started work at 6 in the morning when the rounds used to start. You worked through the night, worked through the day, and then went home at 10, 11 o'clock at night on your night off, and then back again at 6 in the morning. So it was quite grueling. It was like we were trained like, you hear about Blue SEALs of the Navy. Yeah. We had that kind of grueling schedule. But it also made us into great, good surgeons. Yeah. And it also gave us a lot of stamina to work. So you don't get tired because our operations in those days one operation used to last 12 hours. Now we do the same surgery in 4 hours. So there were things have changed because in those days when I was training, 20% of the patients would not come out of the operating room. They would pass away on the table. That's how, the beginning was. Yeah. Today we have 0.2%, 99.8% success, 0.2% mortality, down from 20%.
20%. Yeah.
So a lot of it has got to do with the skills of the surgeons. A lot of it has to do with technology. A lot of technology change. We transformed the way we do surgery in minimal invasive manner without using heart-lung machine in many of the cases. So a lot of things have happened, and that refinement has led to a point where patients who are in, reasonable shape expect to come out. Yeah. They don't expect that there will be a problem. And that's true. Yeah. That's true. The 0.2% mortality is mainly, every procedure has one, but this is 0.2% is
remarkable, sir, from 20%.
It's a miracle that has happened today.
Yeah, absolutely. एक interesting question ये है कि during 1980s, right, एक ट्रेंड था इंडिया के जो बहुत पढ़े लिखे लोग थे ना, वो सारे यूएस जा रहे थे. लैंड ऑफ अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ थी 80s में. ऑल योर सुंदर पिचाई, सत्या नटेला एक्चुअली 80s मिड 80s में गए यहाँ से. नाउ दे आर बिल्डिंग कंपनीज एंड दे चला रहे हैं कंपनीज. दे आर सीईओज ऑफ द कंपनी. अभी भी इंडिया में भी चल रहा है, ट्रेंड चल रहा है जी, कनाडा जाना है, यूएस जाना है. सर, यू वेंट to USA in 1968-9, right? After 69, आपने 20 साल काम किया वो फ्रैंक स्पेंसर वहाँ पे एंट्री की एंड 20 years मतलब हमने थोड़ी बहुत जो रिसर्च की लोगों से पता किया दैट इंडिया से जो लोग अफोर्ड कर सकते थे जब आते थे वो स्पेशली बोलते थे कि हमको डॉक्टर त्रेन के पास जाना है अपनी सर्जरी करानी एंड जब सर अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ यूएस में और खुल रही थी बन रही थी यू फिगर्ड कि मेरे को सब कुछ छोड़ के इंडिया जाना है ये माइंडसेट बताओ सर मैंने आपके इतने इंटरव्यूज़ देख लिए मेरे को ये माइंडसेट नहीं समझ आया कि 88 में सर पैसे की कमी कोई नहीं नाम की कोई कमी नहीं है एंड यू फिगर्ड कि मेरे को इंडिया जाना है व्हाई इज दैट
You know, till today, I feel there are two things. One is that the Indian brain is better than most brains in the world. Because I've seen it myself, compared myself to Americans, to international people who are all working in the US. We do have a superior brain, no question in my mind. We also have, because of our background of working with our hands, what we call, you may call it jugaad or whatever you may call it, that we have this dexterity also. And I had a special advantage with that because I was born left-handed. But in those days, people used to, or my teacher
Unlucky
used to thought that left-handed was unlucky and they converted me to right-hand. And I used to curse because my handwriting went to pot. But fortunately, I became a doctor where they don't expect to read your handwriting, which is okay. But when I started operating, I realized I could use both my hands. And that gave me a special skill that I could operate at twice the speed of anybody else. So that helped me hugely. And then I realized that teacher who had actually broken my knuckles to change my hand actually did give me a blessing. So actually I came back and went and thanked him.
The Hindi teacher, na?
The Hindi teacher. But anyway, the point is that every patient who would come to the US, to New York, for me to operate on them, had the same thing that, they are bringing the whole family, spending $50,000, being displaced for 2 weeks to stay there before they come back. And that there were hundreds of people who needed it but could not afford it. So I had that feeling that, look, we should make, if I have God has given me a skill, I have whatever the reasons may be, and Dr. Spencer trained me enough, I'd always said that I would like to go back. Then opportunity came, and then I started building Escorts Heart
सर
Institute.
वो स्टोरी बताओ सर एच.एल. नंदा जी को कैसे मिले एंड आई वांट टू स्पेंड सम टाइम बिकॉज आई थिंक सर यू स्पोकन दिस बट जो एक्चुअल एस्कॉर्ट्स की जो स्टोरी हुई है एंड दैट विच बिकेम वन ऑफ द वर्ल्ड्स लार्जेस्ट हार्ट हॉस्पिटल तो हाउ डिड यू मीट मिस्टर नंदा वो भी आई थिंक एक कहानी है ना सर ही सॉ यू मेट यू
Yeah, so it, like I always say, there are no geniuses. There are no people start thinking they are so brilliant that, the rest of the world is stupid. It is, you get to a place by certain things that happen in your life. So what happened was that Mr. Nanda and his son, Anil, were visiting New York.
Okay.
And they, because Delhi, my father had established himself, and then my wife's father also, they all knew each other. So he said that I'd like to meet Naresh and Madhu when we go to New York. And when I was there, he said, I could hardly give him any time. He said, why don't I go to the hospital with you? So I was walking them, both of them, through the operating rooms. And one of my seniors had a little problem with the operation that he was doing. And I kind of helped him out and everything was turned out okay. So Mr. Nanda said that if you're helping your seniors, you should not stay in US. We need you back in India. This was, HP Nanda.
HP Nanda, yeah.
Right? So he said, I'm not allowing you to stay here. You must come back. But I said, there is no place in India where I could do. I mean, I didn't just want to operate. I wanted to bring the whole system back to India so that we could serve the people properly. So he said, no, you and I can team up and we'll make a heart institute.
Okay.
That idea was still existing I had made a sketch with my hand on it. So this That's the time we started collecting money to build a heart institute in India. But we couldn't find land. And then fortunately, there was an incident where one of Mrs. Gandhi's close associate needed heart surgery. I came here, then we took him back because he couldn't operate here. And then he survived. So he went to see Mrs. Gandhi, and his name was Mr. Sehare. So she said, Sehare, आप कहाँ से आए? मैंने तो सुना आप मर गए. So somebody told them कि उतना बड़ा heart attack हुआ है कि ये. So that's when he told her the story of how I had gone and made him, operated, and then he's still alive. She said the next time Dr. Trehan comes to India, please bring him.
This is like what, early 80s?
This was 82,
82.
Yeah,
Okay.
82, 83. Yeah, before she passed away. Yeah, she died in 84.
84.
It was maybe a year and a half before that. So she said, okay, we'll give you some funds from the party. We want you to come back and establish a heart institute. And I said, we'll collect the money. We have the money, but we need land. And that's how she arranged the land. And that made it possible to build Escorts Heart Institute. And then we made it into a 330-bed heart institute, the biggest freestanding heart institute in the world, because most heart institutes were part of a bigger hospital. So this was freestanding, and things worked beautifully. I ran it for 20 years.
This is which year, sir? Which year did Escorts start? Actual operation? 88. Sir, one topic that you haven't, I think, not spoken very freely on that, and I want to touch base on that. Of course, आपने sketch बनाया, वो land मिला, 88 में start हुआ with support of Escorts. Nanda sir का vision था. Sir, what changed after his passing away?
See, I mean, his successors did not have the same feeling about the serving the people as much as Mr. H.P. Nanda had. So they were, but not they, I was one person who was his son who became the chairman. His company was not doing well. And he was in fact, on the brink of bankruptcy. So in the middle of the night, without asking me, and I established the Heart Institute, I worked it for 20 years, without the middle of the night, he went and sold it to the two brothers,
Fortis.
as we know, right? So then, I mean, I had no problem, but we had already started building Medanta, because in 2003, this happened in 2007. In 2003, I had already thought that a single specialty hospital had many disadvantages. And the disadvantage being that we were the highest end of heart surgery, heart cardiology, everything to do with heart. But the rest of the specialties were not of the same level. So a patient who requires, say, gastroenteritis, neuro problem, whatever, he would not get the best like we were. So that's when I decided that we needed to build what is the equivalent of Mayo Clinic, Cleveland Clinic, Harvard of the East. That's how the size of 1,400 bed were built, that all 30 super specialties could be on the same platform and provide and get the best of people so that they could provide the best treatment anywhere. I mean, that was the whole idea. So we completed it. So I had to leave in 2007.
But 99 he passed away, na, sir? H.P. Nanda ji. 98, 99 he.
99, I think.
99 he passed away. But sir, 98, 99, I want to spend, sir, 2 minutes if you're okay with that. When he passed away, sir, till 2003, of course, that thought came that there has to be, like what Mayo Clinic and jo aapne examples diye. But were things the same, sir, after his passing away? It's not same, right? In terms of the vision that you wanted to build Escorts, thought to, sir, aapko 2003 mein aayi. But were you very clear that him passing away, because we read about Mr. Nanda also, how he was such a patriot and wanted to build with the nation, etc. So did you know, sir, कि ये नहीं होने वाला, because you also hold 10%, आपका भी 10% share था उसमें?
I had no idea what I had tried. My plan was with Mr. Nanda, the son, was to keep Escorts Heart Institute as the city center
Okay.
and Medanta the highest center, and that he could also be a part of it.
Okay.
So that was the whole idea. But because he ran into trouble
Okay.
with his own company, that it was about to be, I would say, declared bankruptcy or be repossessed by somebody else, in that desperation, he
Sold it at 40.
sold it. But what I was very upset because he didn't even tell me. I mean, if he told me that he's selling it or something, we could have done many other things. But even the doctor said that, look, we built it. We
Pura
could have
ecosystem built
collectively
here.
bought it.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But then whatever his wisdom, it's all water under
But
the bridge.
you don't hold grudges like matlab,
No, I never do. I never do. God has been, whatever he does for the better, by the way.
Okay.
Because then I got detached from there. I could spend all my energy on this. Otherwise, it would probably never have been built that fast.
Okay.
So we completed it. All there were three criterias. One which was very clear in my mind what it takes to make the Mayo Clinic or the Harvard or the Cleveland Clinic. That was, it must have the right infrastructure so that patient safety and it is 100% secured, and also lowest infection rate so that you can put the air exchanges much more than you do normally in the. So we have, if you look at it, we exchange the air in different areas depending on where the patients are. In the operating room, 7 to 9 times an hour. We change it 2 to 3 times an hour in the whole hospital. So we exchange the whole, so that's why if you look at it, that this whole system became the world's best. So if you look at it today, I may interrupt here to say that sixth year in a row, we got the information 2 days ago, that Newsweek International holds an annual survey of 28 countries. 6th year in a row, we have been declared the best private hospital in India. And we are the only private hospital from India in the first 150 hospitals of the world.
Yeah.
So we rank 146th in the world pecking order. That is including US, Europe, all the areas. Okay. So it's a recognition that, of course, we cherish, and it's the doctor's hard work that has placed us there. So the second ingredient that was necessary was that we must have the best technology to deliver the highest standard of care also. So the physical structure, the technology, and the third was the most important, was the doctors.
Yeah.
So doctors, we use 3 criteria, that the chiefs who would be running their departments would have 3 attributes. They should be benchmarked around the world, not locally. Matlab not Andho mein Kana Raja, but Raja.
Okay.
Second, they should have reached a stage where they are willing to give of themselves, to train people, to impart the skills they have to others. It's a big mindset to have that kind of idea that you want other people to grow also.
Yeah.
And the third was that their integrity should be impeccable, because nobody touches cash. Neither in Escorts Heart Institute when I was running it, nor Medanta from the very beginning. We collect the fees for the hospital, collects it, deducts the taxes and transfers it directly into the doctor's bank account, so that there is no idea of, okay, if I do extra work or unnecessary work, I'll make more money. No. So that is what has held us in such good standing as Medanta, that it became a trusted brand, that you knew that you could get it with the lowest possible price for the kind of services we give, with compassion, with the highest skills and integrity. So those are the 4 things that we have practiced, our doctors have practiced. I must compliment them that through the last 15 years that we are here, they have actually stood by the principles, which is why today's Medanta has become become the trusted brand, I would say.
Yeah.
And also now we have 6, because the 6th one we are opening in Noida in May.
Yeah.
So that's what's helped us to create more and more.
So I can vouch for we recorded with Dr. Arvinder Soin also about the liver transplant and everything. Dr. Trehan, one thing. Lot of our audience is entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs also, and when we talk about building businesses, it requires a lot of capital also. I know we've been talking as your doctor hat is on, but you're also the chairman, right? You're also as an entrepreneur building this enterprise. When we look at the numbers that the healthcare in India is about $200 billion market by 23, and it is estimated by 27 will be around $372 billion. That's the scale, right? So, आप sir, like when do you put the entrepreneur hat? आप मतलब you see the balance sheet because it's a for profit. Like Medanta as a organization, we saw the balance sheet. You're having about 20% upside of EBITDA. How do you juggle between the doctor and the entrepreneur in you?
So, it's a long held belief, and I've said it 100 times.
Okay.
Sometimes businessmen don't like it.
Okay.
Because I say good medicine will make good business. That means you're doing it the right way. On the back of medicine, see, what does a patient want? A patient wants that he will get the best treatment that is possible. He wants to get it with respect and make sure that you're doing the right thing for him, not anything that is in my interest. What we are doing is in his interest. So if the patient is secure about that fact, that he's being given the right advice and the right treatment, they will naturally come down, will break your door down to come and meet you.
Okay.
They will give you money also. So, but it does not hold true the other way. Good business does not make good medicine. So I always say this: if you are in the field of healthcare and delivery for patients, always stick to medicine and the rest will work itself out. You don't have to worry about कि मैं पैसा यहाँ से खींचूँ या उससे खींचूँ या गलत तरीके से खींचूँ. People will come. If they trust you, they'll come and give you the money. So there is a very strong principle, I've said it, and I've said it in standing on every fora, that good medicine makes good business does not make good medicine. That's why I say some businessmen don't like my saying so, but it's true.
But sir, एक perception तो Dr. Trehan बनी है ना, and I'm going the entrepreneurial route right now. कि perception तो बनी है when we talk about like Medanta, when you come in, right? We are in the Gurgaon facility. It looks like a 5-star facility, right? But एक perception तो है ही ना कि जी बहुत पैसे बना रहे हैं, जी बहुत पैसे निकाल रहे हैं. कि throw some light, because people don't understand when they compare. I was just looking at liver transplant, right? Liver transplant का rate जो US में है और जो India में है, right? People वो perception कैसे दूर करें सर कि लोग बोलते हैं जी बहुत पैसा बना रहे हैं जी, वो बहुत मतलब I'll come to the affordable part of it, but just what is your thought process on that, sir?
See, देखो ऐसा है कि if you compare our rates with other institutions of similar variety, मतलब physical structure, the skills we have and probably nobody else has.
But है ही नहीं, हाँ, correct.
Right? Our rates are 3rd, 4th in the order of how much other people are charging. So that perception to look at the building and say it's very expensive is maybe a fallacy on people's understanding. Because if you want good treatment, there are certain inputs which have to be given, and they cost. So when it costs, you also, if you are, so what is money needed? Money is not made because of the fact that 15-20%, like you talked about, that maybe the EBITDA after tax and all that is not the PAT.
Yeah, PAT is about 11%, 12%.
Right?
Yeah.
The PAT is needed for renewing the facility.
Sure, absolutely.
Nobody is taking money out of the place. Right?
True,
you understand?
True. Yeah, absolutely.
I have not sold a single share of mine. We are public, but I haven't. Because it's not that you want to do it for taking money out, but you have to pay your loans, you have to pay the interest, you have to pay for renewal of the facility, and the costs also keep going up. But if you look at the ethos of Medanta, we not only take care of the people who private pay, we also take care of people who are panels like CGHS, ECHS, Ayushman. We cover the whole thing, and also EWS. So anybody who comes here who is in that category will be taken care of. So it's not that we are saying, it's your. One of the reasons why I had a dispute at Escorts was this only. That I was told by one of the owners to say कि अगर जो उसकी किस्मत खराब है तो उसका ऑपरेशन क्यों कर रहे हो? पैसे नहीं है तो उसकी किस्मत खराब है. And I was very angry, and I said, if you ever say that again, I slap. Because to tell a doctor this, whose whole life has been spent in trying to help or treat people, you can't do stupid things like that. But that's why I'm trying to say, a businessman may say, यार पैसे नहीं बन रहे तो क्यों कर रहे हो? That's not a good. That's why I'm trying to say this mixture of business and is not a very good thing, because a lot of places are being run by businessmen who have no soul, or they have no understanding of medicine or people's misery. That's not a good mix.
But sir, and just adding to this point, and also to tell the viewers, because Medanta structure also, you have global private equity players also on the board, so the corporate governance has to be top notch, right? And you are a listed company, so in terms of compliances and corporate governance, तो अब इतने ज़्यादा stringent हो गए norms by SEBI.
I am a major supporter of that. That you should have accountability. You are in a space where you are dealing with people's lives. There is no room for all this nonsense.
Sir, when you talk about businessmen getting into healthcare, recently Adani and Mayo Clinic also have partnered and they're building Adani City. How do you see that? Because it's unki non-for-profit arm hai, which is investing, right? So of course the rates would also be very, I don't know kya structure hoga. But how do you look at it? It's a good move. Like how do you personally look at it?
See, in the old days, people used to make trusts. You say the Birla Hospital, this hospital, that hospital. These were all made by trusts and ran by trusts. It is a different matter that some of them have been hijacked. That's a different story now. That most of the trusts have created some side business with a lot of them have been taken over and all that. But that's for the government to regulate, not for us. But what I'm trying to say is that there is nothing wrong with Mr. Ambani or Mr. Adani or Mr. So-and-so, Piramals, anybody who wants to get into healthcare to provide good quality at a reasonable cost is most welcome. India needs double the capacity. So, there is and the way the population is growing and the way the government is also providing relief. The PMJY, these are big relief to people. I love it when I see people who would not be able to walk into your office or because they were intimidated have the facility to come and get the best of treatment. I think it's a major contribution of this government.
Okay. Sir, you were saying about capacities. Where is Medanta today? We are in 2025, February of 2025. Where is Medanta in terms of capacity? You were talking about Noida. Can you just share where is it today in terms of operational bed capacity and what's the way forward?
See, our model has been to go to areas where you are needed the most.
Okay.
So if you see, we don't go chasing, where the rich patients are. So we are in Lucknow, we are in Patna, where there were no facilities like this, right? We are in Ranchi, where there were no facilities like this. We are in Indore, and now Noida. Okay, so our steps are very deliberate. This is our own way of doing it. Okay, it's not anybody has suggested or forced you. But I think that medicine, wherever this quality of medicine is needed, we want, and I'll tell you what made an impression on me. I was lecturing in Harvard one day, and some professor American, got up and said, "What about the BIMARU states?" So I had been in the US for 20 years. I didn't even know what BIMARU states are. And I said, "Excuse me, what is BIMARU states?" Then he told me all this stuff. And I said, when I go back, I'm going to create all these facilities in BIMARU states. So that has been my footprint. If you look at it, all the states that were named as BIMARU, we have already gone
and it's actually cutting through right central India. Like if you, जो आपने locations बताई, I was actually looking at it. I was reading your annual report. It is very impressive that मतलब नहीं तो जैसे चंडीगढ़ है, right? I come from चंडीगढ़ या लुधियाना है, जहाँ पे purchasing power slightly ज़्यादा भी है, right? You've actually your central India की accessibility.
So like that's what I'm saying.
जी.
Mumbai, because of the fact that the system over there is a little different, where people see, we have a very clear system that everybody has to be full-time employee of the institute, so that they don't have any distractions, no idea of trying to grab patients from outside and stuff like that. So we always have.
But private practice तो कर ही रहे हैं ना सर लोग, वो you discourage that also
over here, na? Not outside.
अच्छा outside अपना नहीं कर सकते? Okay.
The other hospitals have that model.
Okay, but Medanta के नहीं.
We don't.
But sir इसके आगे क्या, जैसे भी 5 facilities होगी, I think 2300 operational beds हो गए almost roughly. इसके आगे where are you planning, sir?
So we are 6 months. We'll be now 3,000 beds.
3,000 beds. Okay. Across all the 5 locations.
Yeah.
तो इसके अलावा
6 locations.
इसके अलावा सर कौन से खुल रहे हैं? Do you want to share?
I told you we have already announced Mumbai.
अच्छा मुंबई.
We have already announced Delhi, 2 of them in Delhi, one in South Delhi, one in North Delhi.
Okay.
I was recently in Guwahati, and we are over there. I was looking at, so there is an intention that we will build there also. We haven't announced it because we don't have, we haven't got the. We will when we get the land and all that. But again, areas which are underserved and require this quality of care.
सर मेरा लास्ट सेगमेंट है जिसमें रैपिड फायर करेंगे, पर उससे पहले सर एक चीज़ अगेन आई एम जस्ट ट्राइंग टू विजुअलाइज when we're talking about $370 billion of market, right? We are almost about roughly $300 million, $400 million, 3400 करोड़ 3500 करोड़ का हमारी टॉप लाइन है. सर वो टारगेट्स डिस्कस होते हैं कि यार हमको $1 बिलियन पहुंचना है, हमको 10,000 करोड़ पहुंचना है, कि आप नहीं सोचते बिल्कुल भी ऐसे? बिकॉज मेरा जो एंटरप्रेन्योर है वो सोच रहा है कि लाइक वो डिस्कशंस बोर्ड रूम में होते हैं कि आप यही बोलते हो कि यार हम अफोर्डेबल कैसे करें, मतलब उस पर थोड़ा सा सर.
तो ये दिस हैज नेवर बीन ए डिस्कशन कि हम
बिकॉज यूर लिस्टेड कंपनी, सो
5 बिलियन 10 बिलियन कैसे पहुंचे, क्या करें क्या नहीं. No, we don't. We actually, and this is one of the good things about our board also, that we have very educated, very kind of well-established people. So they insist that we keep our quality and the ethics and ethos with which we work intact. That's the kind of discussions that take place, which is a good thing. But we also have our own plans to say, we don't want to be sitting still, but we want to continue to expand in areas where we think that people need us. And that's basically what's happening. That's why I went to Guwahati. That's why there are others also which we haven't announced. But what I'm saying is that we are exploring, okay, which are the areas, and we will, as it culminates, we will announce those. But we have already announced Mumbai. We have already announced Delhi, the 2 facilities. We have already announced the Noida thing. So these are all things that are already there. We have already announced another one. We are doubling our capacity in Ranchi.
Okay. एंड स्ट्रक्चर सेम ही रहेगा सर, जो मेदांता का गुड़गांव में स्ट्रक्चर है और बाकी जगह द स्ट्रक्चर वुड बी आल्सो सेम, दैट एक स्पेशलिटी का एक चेयरमैन होगा, एंड दैट इज द इंटीग्रेटेड
chief, but there's maybe a little bit of, but the chiefs will be like that only, director of the department, CEO.
Okay. सर आपसे बात हो रही है तो हार्ट की बात ना करें तो पॉसिबल नहीं है ना. तो इंडिया कैपिटल बन गया सर हार्ट डिजीजेस का, वेर इन 2025 हमारी तो अपब्रिंगिंग, इंडिया तो बिल्कुल देसी कल्चर से आया था जहाँ पे हम मिलेट्स पहले तो ज़माने में ही बाजरा ये नॉर्थ में तो यही चलता था. कैसे पहुंच गए सर इधर हम? कैपिटल, वी आर द कैपिटल ऑफ द वर्ल्ड इन दी हार्ट डिसीजेज. पहुंचे कैसे, उसको कैसे प्रिवेंट करें
So
सर?
there are many contributing factors. It's not a single factor. Genetically also makes a difference, that our genetic pool is such that we are more prone to heart disease. Now, how that genetic pool happened, nobody knows.
Okay.
But if you look at the Caucasian, that's the Western population, the white population, Caucasians have half the rate of heart disease than we have. And they have it at least 10 years later than what we have.
Okay.
So that's why when you start talking about heart, you're talking about why are we getting it in such numbers and why are we getting it at a younger age. यही दो बातें बहुत ज़रूरी है. And that is why we have been working on it. But I'll tell you, there are several factors. Smoking is still very prevalent in the younger age group. Second, our diet is very rich. Third, although not everybody likes to exercise, so that we are becoming couch potatoes because of the fact that our work habits have become, or the environment has changed. So if you're going to be in the computer all your day, that's your job. IT, ये वो सब jobs हैं, where you don't get any physical activity. And so if you get diet, lack of physical activity, your genetic makeup, and in addition stress, which is two parts. One is it's stressful everywhere now. Even to make a living is stressful, right? Everybody's competitive. Too many people trying to look for the same field, same job. And on top of that, what's happened is that environment is not helping us. The pollution is making it much worse. So pollution affects the children, young people, older people in different ways. The young children get affected on their neurological development, which is a very tragic thing to say.
Yeah.
Second, the younger people get their stress level increased by environment, and they're breathing toxic air. So high blood pressure is one of the most common things that we are seeing on the rise right now. And high blood pressure will give you kidney disease, heart disease, brain disease, every disease. Okay. And then there are the older people whose lungs get affected, because especially people who already have asthma. So younger people are developing asthma, which should not happen. Older people who have asthma are getting pneumonia. So all these things put together are actually devastating to our population. So we need to incorporate certain things. One, recognizing that if you have what we say, know your genes. If you have heart disease in your family, you know the children will have double the risk. If you have diabetes in the family, the children will have a double risk. So if you know that, then you will be sure that you don't indulge in too much rich food, you exercise, you de-stress yourself. So many things you can do to control your environment. But you should be conscious of the fact that I have inherited a higher incidence of heart disease than otherwise, than the person next door. Okay. Same thing with diabetes. There's no reason why somebody should indulge in excess of sweets, because you know that you have a tendency for diabetes. Sure. So and it's all avoidable by, like I told you, by regulating your diet, exercise, de-stressing, and staying out of the polluted environment when it's so severe.
मतलब जो environment है, we are in गुड़गांव, मतलब air quality index तो मतलब 300 250 ये तो normally हो गया, but इसका क्या करें? Like I understand you saying on, let's say, diet etc. वो हम सारे कर सकते हैं.
So what we say is basically, when the sun shines, the toxic air lifts, so it gets better. It never gets zero or never healthy, but it gets better. So stay away from going outside in the early hours of the morning or late after sunset, because of the fact that then the gas effect happens, that the pollution starts settling down. So that is why you can protect yourself. When you are working indoors, the air quality is reasonable. And you can check your environment to say, make sure that it is reasonable. And so there are things. You don't go jogging first thing in the morning, even when the count is 350 or
बट कितना
something.
चेंज हो गया ना सर. पहले तो बोलते थे सुबह सुबह जाके कसरत करो, सुबह 5 बजे. नाउ थिंग्स हैव
वो
चेंज्ड
जमाना
completely.
बदल गया ना,
Yeah.
because now, I mean, the best request you can make to the government is please clean up the environment. Somehow
Yeah.
we have to pay attention to it and get rid of it. We have been, as doctors, we have been warning every year.
सर सबसे कंट्रोवर्शियल क्वेश्चन, दारू पीनी चाहिए कि अल्कोहल पीनी चाहिए कि नहीं पीनी चाहिए? बहुत लोग अलग अलग चीज़ें बोलते हैं. डॉक्टर सरीन बोलते हैं बर्थडे पे पीनी चाहिए सिर्फ.
क्या बोलते हैं?
डॉक्टर सरीन बोलते हैं ना कि अपने बर्थडे पे पीनी चाहिए सिर्फ. आप बोलते हो कि नहीं, दो ठीक है. क्या है सर, अल्कोहल इज गुड और बैड? व्हाट इज इट?
देखो, ये इमोशनल चीज नहीं है. दिस इज ए studies that were done around the world which said that 2 small drinks 3 to 4 times a week will not harm you. Did not say that it will help you.
Okay. Does not harm you. Okay.
Okay, that's what was the
So
belief.
define small, sir. वो भी एक बार.
30 cc's.
30 से. Okay.
ठीक है. So that is what was done by many studies over many years to say that their liver function and everything stayed okay. They did not. So what we have quoted is studies like that. Okay. The second thing is that once you start drinking, can you control yourself? It's like smoking. But smoking with tobacco in any form, we say, is absolutely a no-no.
For the heart.
For heart, for brain, for everything, because it's not good for your health. It's not good for your lungs, it's not for your arteries, not for your brain, not from your heart. So there is a different calibration. So tobacco doesn't help anybody.
Okay. So no tobacco.
No, in any form.
Any form. Okay.
In any form, because you chew it, it gives you cancer. If you smoke it, it can give you lung cancer. It also can give you emphysema and all sorts of stuff. And also give you high blood pressure and make your arteries hardened. All those things happen with tobacco. So tobacco is a no-no.
Okay.
Alcohol is controversial because now suddenly there are some studies which are saying alcohol may be causing cancer, even small amounts.
Yeah.
That don't drink at all. Now, it is true that cancer is on the rise. And is it that combination of all the things that are environmentally changed also make us that maybe alcohol is, even small amounts, is not good? So basically what I'm saying is, there are old jokes about this. To say, if you want to live 100 years, the doctor के पास गया था कोई, what do I do if I don't? So they always say the same thing, na? Don't drink, don't eat, don't do this, don't do that, sleep, or no sex, no this, no that. So guy says that, will I live 100 years? He says, I'm not sure that you will, or I don't guarantee you will, but you will sure feel like you lived 100 years. Yeah. Matlab, it's so boring that you will. So I think one person should be steering your life through all these changing environments. The best way is to be extremely moderate.
In everything?
In everything. Eating, drinking, smoking, I said no. Exercise. If you over-exercise, that's also not good for you. Because people do bulking of muscle and all that, that will going to hurt you later in life. So over-exercising is also not great. So you do everything in moderation, what is appropriate for you. You know that your body is like a bank balance. If you don't take out what you put in by way of food, you'll gain weight. If you don't maintain muscle, you will not have immunity. So all these things are very simple to do. Be aware of what suits you or doesn't suit you. And if there is new evidence that alcohol causes cancer, maybe you should abstain from it. There's no reason to.
But sir, आपने videos आपने भी देखी होंगी sir. A young girl was dancing perfectly in shape, everything, just fell and had a heart attack. And ये cases भी तो आ रहे हैं youngsters में sir, mid-20s, early 30s में.
See, this is what I'm trying to tell you. That one, if you have a genetic problem in your family, and it could be of many varieties, whether it's heart attacks or whether it's abnormal heart muscle or electrical system. you should get checked out by the age of 25 if you have any of these things in your family.
तो ये प्रिवेंटिव हुआ ना सर? तो
ठीक है.
okay.
And everybody should get by the latest by the age of 30 have a full checkup, because then you can see, in your echo we can see, we can in your cardiogram we can see your blood pressure, we can see your kidney function, everything we can see. So you get forewarned that you have a certain disadvantage in life, and then you can cope with it. But
That
if
is
you
mandatory.
don't know, if you don't know and you find out only when you get sick, that's too late.
So advise for young people, because India, आप भी कह रहे हैं सर कि इंडिया यंग लोगों ने बनाना है. We are the youngest population in India right now, in the world in fact, right? कि जो 30s में है, I'm 34. तो your advice to all the youngsters right now who are at least in their late 20s is preventive health checkup करा लो एक बार.
Once you must have it, then we can make a prescription for you.
Okay. And Medanta also does it?
Yeah. Now we've gone a step further. What we are doing now is that what we call precision personalized medicine. That means that we do three things. One is we ask for a full genome sequencing to know that what is your genetic propensity for different diseases.
Okay.
Okay. Second is your phenome. Phenome is your lifestyle, your body structure, all this other stuff. Are you overweight, this, that, this. Third is digital health. What we measure by cardiogram, stress test, blood pressure, all these other things, the blood chemistries. So we combine the three now to come up with an individual prescription for a person to say this is how you need to take the rest of your life. How to prevent any major things happening. You can help yourself. That's what we are trying to do. But when we tell everybody, okay, don't drink this, don't smoke this, you don't eat this, or don't do that, this, that, these, then the adoption is only 3 to 5%. So if you look at it, the history of medicine, we became doctors to treat disease. Then we said, why wait for them to get so sick? Let's do early detection. That's when the CTs and the MRIs and all these other things came in. And we said, okay, we will catch it very early so that the outcome is better. Okay, that was true. Then we said, why get sick at all? Let's do wellness.
Okay.
But wellness our prescription was the same for the 7 billion people around the world. And the adoption is only 3 to 4%. Not everybody is practicing what we are talking about, and why should they if they are not at risk? So what we have said is, we will make a prescription for each individual for them to know if you have a tendency for diabetes, then you avoid sweets. But the whole rest of the world doesn't have to avoid sweets.
बिल्कुल ठीक बात है सर.
Right? If you have a high blood pressure, we know what to tell you to do and not to do.
बिल्कुल ठीक बात है. You can't generalize ना कि
तो
किसी की
सबको एक ही बोल दोगे भाई तू सॉल्ट मत खा, तू ये मत कर, तू वो मत कर.
और किसी की जीन्स में लेट से नहीं है, को हुआ ही नहीं डायबिटीज किसी को भी.
Then we say, okay, if everything is okay, supposing you say, come 5 years later, we will recalibrate you.
Okay.
Right?
तो मैं आज तो मैंने अपना कराना है सबसे पहले तो इधर, so that I can share that experiences. Sir, last question. 50,000 plus heart surgeries. Do you have a count?
Well, I stopped counting.
कितना होगा? कुछ तो idea होगा सर.
नहीं, we do. For my whole life now, it's now 40 years I've been operating. So
हो गए होंगे सर
70, 80,000, maybe more. Yeah, maybe more.
Okay. So 80,000 लगा लेते हैं सर, है ना, 80-90,000 के आसपास. Young 22-year-old doctor seeing you. You are a legend for them, sir. मैं अपने my cousins, मेरे जो कई cousin sisters वगैरह जो छोटे हैं, उनको मैंने बताया ना सुबह कि I'm going there. एक तो मेरी cousin sister चिल्लाने लगी, कहते oh my god, right? What is the message to them, sir? What is the message to a doctor like you, came back, left everything, built one of the largest hospitals, world-class hospitals in India? What's the message to a 22-year-old?
I will give you an example of what happened.
हाँ जी.
10 years after I returned, NBC, that is National Broadcasting Corporation of America, did a worldwide survey on expats, matlab, who came to America and then went back to their countries. Okay, so my name was also there somewhere.
Yeah.
So this lady is interviewing me and says, look, you had this in New York, you had this apartment, you had so many cars, you had driver, you had this, you had that. Usne sari baatein bata di, you were making so much money. They did a full research on you. Then why did you give it up? And you've been back 10 years. If we gave you double the amount, would you go back? So I said, listen, it is true that till today I still don't make the amount of money I was making in America, but I'm 10 times happier. She says, thank you very much. That's all, that no amount of money was going to take me back. I am actually 10 times happier. So, that's it.
So उनको message
So
doctors को
message,
क्या
message to
खुश रहो.
no, the younger doctors is that, look, success doesn't come overnight, and chasing success is not the right method to go for something. Become the best and become like, because medicine has three things. One is unlimited stamina, because you should never get tired कि patient मुझे bother कर रहा है. You understand? Till today, I have not switched off my phone. Do you know that? At night, my phone is on 24/7. Because somebody needs you in the middle of the night, they need you.
जो work life balance वगैरह नहीं.
उनमें हुआ है ये, फिर then you don't become a doctor. So basically, you need to be available to the people because you committed that you are there to help people. So you can't be. That's the big problem.
Right, absolutely.
In America, you can't find a doctor after 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
On the weekend, to bhuli jao.
Yeah.
So the basic thing is that you need that stamina. You need the sincerity of work and the compassion for other people. If you have these three things, then of course you have to supplement it with knowledge because you see, I live by two dictums which was taught to me not by myself but by my guru, Dr. Frank Spencer, which you mentioned. He used to say, if you are standing still, you're going backwards. If you think that you're doing the same routine every day, you're actually going backwards.
True.
And if you're not better today than yesterday, then you wasted 24 hours. Medicine, he says, when you were sleeping, science has moved. Science didn't wait for you. So if your knowledge is not current, you're going to be a fossil eventually. So if you translate it in a doctor's career or anybody's career, when you leave college, your maximum book knowledge is that day when you graduate. ठीक है ना? But you don't have any experience. So next 5 years, you will combine knowledge with experience and it will take you to another height. Now from that height, if you don't increase your knowledge or creativity on a daily basis, you will then plateau. The plateau will take you for the next 10, 15 years and then you will fall off. But if you want to become something, you keep going, you keep renewing your knowledge so that you don't plateau. You keep going further and further on a daily basis. And that's what leads to becoming somebody.
सर इंडिया 2047 मैं सबको पूछता हूँ जितने भी हमारे गेस्ट आए हैं इस पॉडकास्ट पे इंडिया 2047 इज 100 years of independence. How do you see India 2047?
See, there are two parts to it. One is the banner. Okay, we India will be this by 2047. But how are we going to get there is what needs to be really in every individual's mind. It's not like the government would guide only. Today I read a headline in the paper that one of the ministers was saying, start creating yourself. Don't be always looking back on the government. Okay, you have a crutch. And that's true. If you don't get competitive yourself, and like I told you, the God has given us a better brain than anybody in the world. That I am convinced. Only we need to learn to walk straight. God gave us best brains and a twist in our tail. तो लोगों को बड़ी तकलीफ होती है सीधा चलने में. अगर जो as a nation character building is there where you learn to walk straight, there is no way India can be ever contained.
Perfect, sir.
The collective power of India is huge. We just have to stop thinking badly and start thinking right.
Sir,
And then road to any success. You know, you talk about America, yahan pahunch gaya, hum yahan agar. It is their job. They work bloody hard.
yeah.
They don't have luxury of a servant or a driver or a mundu to carry your bag.
Yeah.
These are all bad habits.
Yeah.
You must be active and determined that you're going to be the best.
100%.
And India can be there, no question. India has. We just need to change our attitude a
Sir,
little bit.
on that note, and I feel that whenever healthcare in India will be discussed after 40 years, 50 years, Dr. Naresh Trehan name would always be there. Thank you for your service, sir. Thank you for coming on our podcast, and thank you for inspiring so many people. Thank you so much for doing this, sir.
Thank you.